I never thought my father's 60th birthday would be the night everything fell apart. But when I got the invitation, sleek black cardstock, gold lettering, it said something I couldn't believe. Adults only. No children. If you have kids, please do not attend. I stared at it for a full minute. My daughter Lily is 6. She's bright, polite, and adores her grandfather. Or at least, she used to. My father had always been cold toward her, but this was deliberate exclusion. My stomach twisted. I showed the invite to my husband, Mark. He didn't say anything at first. Just looked at me with those sad, knowing eyes. "Are you going to go?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. Not without Lily. My younger brother, Derek, called me that night. He was going, of course. Derek never had kids. Never settled down. He was Dad's golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. "Come on, Jess," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "It's one night. Just get a babysitter." "It's not about one night, Derek. It's about respect." He laughed. Actually laughed. "You're being dramatic. Dad just wants a sophisticated evening. Not a circus." I hung up on him. The next day, I RSVP'd. Regretfully, I will not be attending. I didn't elaborate. Didn't apologize. My father didn't call. Didn't text. Nothing. That told me everything I needed to know. But here's the thing, I wasn't going to sit home and sulk. I had plans. Plans my father had no idea about. Plans that would change everything. Because that same night, I had a reservation at the Sterling, the most exclusive restaurant in the city. And I wasn't dining alone. I was dining with someone my father desperately wanted to impress. Someone who could make or break his biggest business deal. My father built his entire career on reputation. He owned a mid-sized real estate development firm, and for the last 2 years, he'd been chasing one deal above all others, a partnership with Mitchell Grayson. Grayson was a billionaire developer known for turning struggling properties into gold mines. A handshake with him could double my father's net worth overnight. What my father didn't know. I knew Mitchell personally. 3 years ago, I worked as a project analyst for a consulting firm Grayson's company hired. We collaborated on a major urban renewal project. I was sharp, detailed, and I saved his team from a costly zoning mistake. Mitchell remembered me. We stayed in touch, not close, but cordial. Professional respect. When I reached out to him a week before my father's birthday, asking if he'd be free for dinner, he said yes. No hesitation. "I've been meaning to catch up with you, Jessica. Let's do it." I didn't tell him why I wanted to meet. Didn't mention my father. I just said I had some business ideas I wanted to run by him. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. The night of my father's party, I dressed carefully. Elegant black dress, understated jewelry, confidence in every step. Mark stayed home with Lily. I kissed them both goodbye and headed to the Sterling. The restaurant was breathtaking. Chandeliers, white tablecloths, soft piano music. I spotted Mitchell immediately. Silver hair, sharp suit, warm smile. He stood when I arrived. "Jessica," he said, shaking my hand. "It's been too long. Thank you for making time, Mitchell. I really appreciate it." We sat down, ordered wine, and started talking business. I was calm, focused, professional. But in the back of my mind, I knew. I knew my father's party was happening just 10 blocks away. And I knew, eventually, he'd find out where I was. And who I was with. Mitchell and I talked for almost an hour. He was genuinely interested in my ideas, sustainable housing development, community-focused real estate. He asked smart questions, challenged my assumptions, and by the end of it, he said something that made my heart race. "You know, Jessica, I've been looking for someone to lead a new initiative. Someone who thinks beyond profit margins. You might be exactly who I need." I kept my composure, but inside, I was screaming. This was real. This was an opportunity I'd been building toward for years. And it had nothing to do with my father. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. "Where are you?" "Dad's asking." I ignored it. 2 minutes later, another text. Seriously, Jess. People are noticing you're not here. It looks bad. I turned my phone face down on the table. Mitchell noticed. Everything okay? Just family drama, I said lightly. Nothing I can't handle. He nodded knowingly. Family and business. Always a complicated mix. Tell me about it. We laughed, and the conversation shifted. He told me about his daughter, who was around Lily's age. We bonded over parenting struggles, over balancing ambition and family. I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. And then I saw him. Through the tall glass windows of the Sterling, I saw my father's car pull up outside. My stomach dropped. Derek must have told him where I was. Or maybe someone else did. Either way, he was here. Mitchell didn't notice yet. He was mid-sentence, talking about a project in Denver. But I saw my father step out of the car, his face already red, his expression thunderous. He was coming inside. This was about to get very ugly. Very fast. My father pushed through the front doors of the Sterling like he owned the place. His eyes scanned the room, and when they landed on me, they narrowed. He started walking toward our table, his jaw clenched, his fists tight at his sides. Mitchell noticed my expression and turned. Do you know that man? That's my father. Mitchell's eyebrows lifted slightly, but he said nothing. Just watched. My father reached the table. He didn't greet Mitchell. Didn't acknowledge him at all. His focus was entirely on me. Jessica, what the hell are you doing here? I met his gaze calmly. Having dinner. What does it look like? You were supposed to. He stopped himself, glancing at Mitchell for the first time. Recognition flickered across his face. His mouth opened slightly, then closed. He took a breath, clearly trying to recalibrate. Mr. Grayson, he said stiffly, extending a hand. I'm Robert Thornton, Jessica's father. I've been hoping to connect with you for some time now. Mitchell shook his hand politely, but his expression was cool. Mr. Thornton. I've heard your name. My father's face lit up. Really? That's wonderful. I've been working on a proposal I think you'd find very interesting. Perhaps we could. I'm having dinner with Jessica right now, Mitchell said evenly. Perhaps another time. My father's smile faltered. He looked at me, then back at Mitchell. Of course. Of course. Jessica, can I speak to you privately for a moment? No, I said simply. His face darkened. Excuse me. You heard me. I'm in the middle of a business dinner. If you want to talk, call me tomorrow. This is ridiculous, he hissed, lowering his voice, but not his intensity. You skipped my birthday to have dinner with. With someone who respects me, I finished. Yes, I did. My father's face went white, then red. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Mitchell shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable but also clearly observing everything. You skipped my 60th birthday because I asked people not to bring children to an elegant evening. You're being petty. I skipped your birthday because you excluded my daughter. Because you made it clear she wasn't welcome. That I wasn't welcome unless I came alone. It was one event. It was a pattern. You've been cold to Lily since she was born. You barely acknowledge her. You forget her birthday. You don't ask about her. And when I called you out on it, you told me I was being too sensitive. His jaw tightened. This isn't the time or place. You made it the time and place when you barged in here. You couldn't stand the idea that I was having dinner with Mitchell Grayson. The man you've been chasing for 2 years. The man whose approval you need for your big deal. My father glanced at Mitchell again. Saw the disapproval in his eyes. Saw his opportunity slipping away. Jessica, please. Let's discuss this privately. No. You want to talk? We talk here. In front of Mitchell. In front of everyone. Because I'm done protecting your image while you destroy mine. Mitchell spoke up. Mr. Thornton, I think it's best if you leave. Jessica and I are in the middle of something, and this is neither appropriate nor professional. My father stared at him. Then at me. His hands were shaking. I could see the desperation. The fury. the humiliation. "You planned this," he said slowly. "You knew I wanted to meet him. You knew, and you did this on purpose." I didn't deny it. Didn't confirm it either. Just looked at him, unflinching. "Enjoy your party, Dad." He stood there for another long moment, his breathing heavy, his face contorted with rage and embarrassment. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out. The entire restaurant had gone quiet. People were staring, whispering. Mitchell sat back down, looked at me with something almost like admiration. "That," he said quietly, "took guts." I exhaled slowly. "That was a long time coming," I gathered. "Your father has been trying to get a meeting with me for months. Emails, calls. His assistant even tried to ambush me at a conference. I've been avoiding him because something felt off. Now I know what. He's not a bad businessman. But he's not a good person. Especially not to me." Mitchell nodded. "Family dynamics are complicated. But for what it's worth, I don't do business with people who treat their own family like that. Character matters." Those words hit harder than I expected, because they validated everything I'd felt, everything I'd struggled with. "Thank you," I whispered, "for believing me. I don't just believe you. I respect you. And that job offer I mentioned? I meant it. Let's set up a formal meeting next week. Bring your portfolio. Let's make this happen." I almost cried. This was everything I'd worked for. And it had nothing to do with my father. It was mine. We finished dinner. Talked more about the position. About what it would mean. About relocating, logistics, everything. When we parted ways, Mitchell shook my hand. "Thank you for tonight. And Jessica? Don't let your father make you doubt yourself. You're exceptional." With or without his approval. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. When I walked in, Mark and Lily were waiting up. "How did it go?" Mark asked. I smiled. "Better than I could have imagined." The next morning, my phone exploded. Texts from Derek. From my mother. From family friends who'd been at the party. All asking what had happened. Why I'd embarrassed Dad. Why I'd caused a scene. I didn't respond to most of them. But I did call my mother. "Jessica, what were you thinking?" Her voice was tight. Strained. "I was thinking that I wasn't going to let Dad exclude my daughter and pretend it was normal. He just wanted a sophisticated evening." "Mom, stop. Please stop making excuses. He's been cold to Lily for 6 years. This wasn't about one party. This was about a pattern of behavior." Silence. "And now you've ruined his partnership with Mitchell Grayson. Do you know how important that deal was?" "I didn't ruin anything. Dad ruined it himself when he barged into my business dinner and made a scene." Mitchell saw exactly who Dad is. And he didn't like it. "You did this on purpose. You knew Dad wanted to meet with Mitchell." I had a professional relationship with Mitchell that had nothing to do with Dad. The fact that Dad couldn't handle that says everything. My mother sighed. "Your father is very upset. He feels betrayed." Good. Now he knows how I felt for 6 years. "Jessica." "Mom, I love you. But I'm done being the scapegoat. Done being the daughter who has to shrink so everyone else feels comfortable. I have a life. A career. A family. And I'm not going to apologize for protecting them." I hung up before she could respond. Over the next few days, the family pressure intensified. My father sent emails. Long, rambling messages about loyalty and family and how I'd destroyed his reputation. I didn't read them. Just archived them and moved on. A week later, I had my formal meeting with Mitchell Grayson. I brought my portfolio. Presented my ideas. He offered me the position on the spot. Director of Community Development for his new sustainable housing initiative. The salary was nearly double what I was making. The opportunity was everything I'd dreamed of. I accepted. That weekend, the news broke in the local business journal. Grayson Enterprises expands leadership team. My name was front and center. My father would see it. Everyone would see it. I braced myself for the fallout. But it didn't come from him. It came from Derek. He showed up at my house unannounced. Knocked on the door at 8 in the morning on a Saturday. I opened the door in my pajamas. "What do you want, Derek?" "I want to understand why you're doing this. Why you're destroying our family." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm building my own life." Dad is devastated. Mom won't stop crying. "You got the job Dad wanted to position himself for, and now he looks like a fool." Dad made himself look like a fool when he excluded his granddaughter and then crashed my business dinner. "I didn't do that." "He did." Derek ran his hand through his hair. "You've always been jealous of Dad's success. Always tried to compete with him." "I'm not competing with him. I'm succeeding without him. There's a difference." "This is selfish. You're choosing your career over family." "No, Derek. I'm choosing myself. Something this family has never allowed me to do. And if you can't understand that, then we don't have anything else to talk about." I closed the door. Heard him yelling on the other side. Eventually, he left. Mark found me in the kitchen afterward. "You okay?" "Yeah. Actually, I am. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." 3 months later, I started my new position. The work was challenging, meaningful, and everything I'd hoped for. Mitchell became not just a boss, but a mentor. He valued my input, respected my ideas, treated me like an equal. And slowly, I started to heal. Started to realize how much my family's dysfunction had held me back. How much I dimmed my own light to make them comfortable. 6 months after starting the new job, I got a letter from my father. Handwritten. Rare for him. "Jessica, I've had time to think about what happened. About how I've treated you and Lily. I was wrong. I let my ego and my business ambitions cloud my judgment. I excluded Lily because I was trying to impress people who don't matter. And I lost what does matter in the process. You. Your family. I'm sorry. I know sorry isn't enough. But I want to try to make things right. If you'll let me." I read the letter 3 times. Cried a little. Showed it to Mark. "What do you think?" I asked. "I think that's up to you. But be careful. People don't change overnight." He was right. I wasn't going to just forgive and forget. But maybe I could give my father a chance to prove he meant it. I called him. First time we'd spoken since that night at the Sterling. "Dad. Jessica." His voice cracked. "Thank you for calling. I didn't think you would. I got your letter. I appreciate it. But words aren't enough. If you want a relationship with me, with Lily, you're going to have to show me. Through actions. Over time." "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. Start by apologizing to Lily. She's 6 years old, and she doesn't understand why her grandfather doesn't like her. I do like her. Then prove it. Show up for her birthday next month. Bring a gift. Spend time with her. Be present. Silence. Then, I will. I promise." My father did show up for Lily's birthday. He brought a gift, a beautiful dollhouse he'd clearly spent time picking out. He played with her, talked to her, made an effort. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Over the next year, he continued to show up. To family dinners, to school events, to holidays. He was different, humbler, more intentional. My mother came around too. Slowly. She started calling regularly, asking about my job, about Lily, about my life. "I'm proud of you," she said one day, "for standing up for yourself, for not letting us diminish you." Those words meant more than I expected. Derek took longer. He struggled with a shift in family dynamics, with me being successful, with Dad paying attention to someone other than him. But eventually, he apologized too. "I was wrong," he said. "About everything. You weren't being dramatic. You were being brave." 2 years after that birthday party, my family looked completely different. Not perfect, but healthier, more honest, more real. And I was thriving. My work was making a difference. Families were moving into affordable, sustainable housing. Communities were being revitalized. Lives were changing. Mitchell had become a true mentor. "You're not just good at this," he told me. "You're exceptional." I knew it the first time we worked together. And I'm glad you finally see it too. 3 years after that night at the Sterling, I stood on a stage accepting an award for community development. My family was in the audience. Mark, Lily, my parents, Derek, all of them cheering for me, supporting me, proud of me. And I realized something. My father's attempt to exclude me had actually freed me, had pushed me to finally stand up for myself, to demand respect, to build a life on my own terms. "Thank you for this honor," I said into the microphone. "But I want to dedicate this award to everyone who's ever been made to feel less than by their own family. To everyone who's been excluded, dismissed, or told they weren't good enough. You are enough. You always have been. And sometimes the greatest gift is when someone shows you who they really are. Because that clarity allows you to choose yourself, to build something better, to thrive." The applause was thunderous. But the moment that mattered most was after. When Lily ran up to me. When my father pulled me aside. "I'm so proud of you," he said, tears in his eyes. "And I'm so sorry it took me this long to see how remarkable you are." "Thank you, Dad. That means a lot. You were right. About everything. About how I treated you. About Lily. About my priorities. I'm grateful you didn't give up on me. That you gave me a chance to be better. We all deserve a chance to be better. As long as we're actually trying." For years after that birthday invitation that said no kids, my life was unrecognizable. I had everything I'd ever wanted. A career I loved. A family that respected me. A daughter who was growing up knowing she was valued. And I had something else. The knowledge that I'd stood up for myself. That I'd chosen myself. That I'd refused to accept being treated as less than. That birthday party was supposed to be about my father. About celebrating him. About making him feel important. Instead, it became about me. About my liberation. About my refusal to be excluded from my own life. My father tried to keep me out. And in doing so, he pushed me toward everything I was meant to become. That's the real ending. Not revenge. Just freedom.